Hi everyone, Slangel here from Slangel Designs, and today we're going to be taking a look at our first video to go along with our crochet along of the ABC alphabet blanket. Now, I'm going to just talk briefly about the pattern and just some of the things you're going to notice. It's recommending worsted weight yarn, which I have. I have the loops and threads, the big pound ball. I have two of them. Which is a number 4. I'm going to use, mine's going to be slate is the color I'm using, and they recommend the 5mm US H8 hook, which is what the pattern also recommends. Okay, you can use a different size hook if you want. It's just going to change how much yarn you're going to need, and it's going to change the overall size of the blanket when you're done. Okay, so the yarn, I have chosen a solid color, and I'm recommending to you that when you pick out your yarn color, it turns out best and the letters show up the best when you have a solid color. If you use a variegated yarn or like a multicolor yarn, the letters just don't pop up as well. The blanket will still turn out, but the letters are harder to see. So I do recommend just a solid color. But again, personal preference. If you want to try it, go ahead. I do consider this a beginner friendly pattern because there's only 2 stitches that you're going to need to know, and that's single crochet and the puff stitch, or I refer to it as the popcorn stitch. And the popcorn stitch or puff stitch is just the yarn over and pull up your loop and do that 4 times, so you have 9 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 8 loops, which will leave 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through those 2, puff stitch, done. And I'll show you in more detail when we get to that. There is a chart. The PDF for this is available on the website for free, and I've added some extra pages to it because this is a pattern you're going to need to keep track of where you're at in the letter chart. Okay, so I've included a tracker, which anytime I've made this blanket, I don't know how many times now, and I print this off every time so I have the tracker to go with it. I did notice I made a boo-boo. On row 1, it should be single crochet across. I should have had to chain 140 up here, and row 1 is single crochet. So for row 1, we're going to do the chain 140 and single crochet to keep us on track. And I'll show you as we're going to go along. Okay. Now, I do also have the letter chart, which I have also up on my computer monitor so I can enlarge the blocks to make it easier to see. Because you're going to notice on the tracker, I have at row 8, we're going to start the letter. Because for the first so many rows, all you're worried about is either a single crochet coming back, or when you're going this way, you're going to have the puff stitches just to delineate where the blocks are. So row 8 is when the letter puff stitch start. So I indicate that on the tracker just so that you don't lose track of where you're at. Now, you'll notice on my copy, I have some notes, which is just going to be easier for me. It's easier when I'm given the instructions, because on row 8, when we start the letter, okay, so would do a puff stitch here, but then, okay, how many single crochets? We're going to do 10 single crochets, and on the 11th, we're going to start the letter. It's just so I know roughly where I'm at. Just makes it easier to keep track. So when you're looking at the chart, if it's just a blank square, single crochet. If it's a black dot, that's a puff stitch or a popcorn stitch. Okay, so I'm going to be using a 5mm hook, which is a US H8, and worsted, like I said, the worsted weight yarn. So this is going to take us a little while to do because, and again, feel free to go as slow or as fast as you need to, depending on your skill level and what you're comfortable with and how much free time you have. But I'm going to be breaking this up into multiple videos and working through the whole thing. So, and this blanket that part of the reason I chose this one is because we have a very good friend who is going to be having a baby, and we know the gender, and we know the color scheme she's going with, so this is going to be for a special little somebody. So without further ado, let's get started. And also, again, if you happen to have any questions or need any kind of clarification, I've got a major yarn burr happening here. If you need any clarification on anything to do with the pattern, please put it in the comments and I will respond to you. And if I need to make a little extra video, we'll do that too. All right, so I'm going to, flip my page over, set that aside a little bit. I'm going to get my yarn on my hook with a slip knot. Something I do want to mention before we get going. This letter chart is amazing, not just for this alphabet blanket. You literally have every letter here for the whole alphabet, obviously. If you wanted to make, say, a custom blanket and you were comfortable with, say, the size, or say you knew you wanted to make more squares, you could turn around and spell out family. You could turn around and spell out people's names. You could, you could make one of your own. You've got the chart here to go with the letters. So it's very easy to use this to customize your own project. Okay. In fact, that would be kind of cute. Almost like a Scrabble board. I'm getting ideas. Okay. So we have our yarn on our hook. I do mine with a slip knot. Feel free to attach yours whichever way you're comfortable with or however you're used to. I will also include in the description the link, like I said, the link for the pattern, but also a link to the single crochet tutorial in case anybody needs a refresher or is really new to this. So chain 140. The one on your hook does not count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, put me on pause. I'm going to go finish my 140 and meet you back here. You do yours as well. Be right back. Okay, welcome back. So I've got my chain of 140, which hopefully you do too. Now, we're still working on row 1 because, whoops. So you're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So not this one. The one on your hook doesn't count. Not this one, and this one here. Put your hook in, yarn over, pull up, and pull through both loops. And you're going to single crochet in each stitch across. Okay. So this is just essentially almost like a foundation row. All right, so work a single crochet in each chain, starting from the second chain from your hook. All right, so if you want to put me on pause, and I'm going to finish off doing my single crochets in each chain, and we'll meet back here and we're going to do row 2. Right. All right, so I gotta move this big ball of yarn. I don't really have anywhere to put it. All right, so I did my chain 140, then I went back and I did single crochet across. So what I'm going to do is just kind of mark off row 1 so that I know that's done. So now we're going to do row 2, which, if I'm just enlarging my chart, when I bring up my chart, you're going to notice that for, it's still too small for old lady eyes, I guess. So we're doing row 2, which is here. So we're going to do so many single crochets, and then we have a puff stitch. So it tells you here the puff stitch is on the 28th stitch, so you're going to do 27 single crochets, puff stitch, and then you're going to know, so that would bring it to 28. So this is 27, puff, 27, 27, and 27. Okay, so this is what mine looks like at the end of the first row. I keep wanting to say round. So you're going to chain 1, which does not count as your first stitch, okay? Then you're going to single crochet in the next 27 stitches. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. So now our next stitch is supposed to be a puff stitch or a popcorn stitch. So that's going to yarn over, put your hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, put your hook in the exact same spot, yarn over and pull up a loop. So now we have 5 loops on our hook, yarn over, hook up, yarn over and pull up your loop, 2, 4, 6, 7, yarn over and do it again. So now we should have 9, 3, 6, 9. We do. So then we're going to yarn over, pull through 8 till we have 2 loops left on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through those 2. That secures our puff stitch. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 27. So you want to put me on pause and I'll meet you back here and we'll do another popcorn stitch. Be right back. Okay, welcome back. So I did, after my popcorn stitch there, I did 27 single crochets. And when you do your popcorn stitch, make sure you kind of have it pushed to the front when you do your first single crochet after that, because that helps keep it towards the front, because this here is going to be our front of our work, okay? So you want to make sure all your popcorn or puff stitches are always kind of popping on this side. All right, so popcorn stitch again. So again, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and we're going to do that 4 times. So right now we've got 3 stitches on our hook, yarn over, hook goes in, yarn over, pull up another loop. Now we've got 5. Yarn over, 7, yarn over, hook in, yarn over, pull up. So now we should have 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yarn over, pull through the first 8 so that you end up with 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and through those 2. Then you're going to single crochet in the next 27 again. So what I'm saying is kind of make sure that when you do your first single crochet after that, you kind of make sure that that popcorn stitch is towards the front. All right, so 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do another 27. So I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, so I got the next 27 single crochets done after our last popcorn stitch. So time for another popcorn or puff. So again, yarn over, hook goes in, yarn over and pull up your loop, and you're going to do that 4 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 9 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 8, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through to finish the popcorn stitch, and then single crochet in the next 27. You'll find for the first row of where you're starting your popcorn stitches, that's when you really need to do the main counting, because the next time you go to do the popcorn stitch, you're going to see, okay? You won't need to count as much. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure you're getting both those loops. 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12. All right, so I'm at 12, so put me on pause there and I'll finish up to the 27 and we'll work on our last popcorn stitch and I'll tell you about finishing the row. Okay, so I just finished another set of the 27 single crochets. So we're back in, this is the last puffs or popcorn stitch of this row. So yarn over, hook goes in and pull up a loop 4 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 8 so that you still have 2 loops on your hook, and then yarn over and pull through those 2, and then you're going to single crochet the next 27, which will bring you to the end of your row. So if you want to put me on pause again, lots of pausing in these tutorials for this one. Put me on pause and finish your row and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Right back. Okay, so I did after my puff stitch there, I did my last 27 single crochets, which brought me right to the end. And just a warning, do count your stitches because you may be like, oh, that's the end of the row. Sometimes the last stitch kind of hides itself. So you need to kind of, so I'm just going to mark off on my tracker that we just finished row 2. Now, row 3 and every odd row are the same. Okay, so what you're going to do at the end of every row, you're always chaining 1, turn your work. So for row 3, pretty straightforward, and every odd row, you are literally going to single crochet in every stitch across. There's no pattern, there's no fancy actions, there's no fancy stitches on the odd rows. It's essentially setting up the next row. It's a foundation row for the next row, which has puff stitches. So I chained 1, doesn't count as my first stitch. So I'm going to go right back into that space right below the chain and do a single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet in every stitch across. And by doing that, by not counting it as a stitch, you get that nice flat side. Okay, so literally single crochet across every stitch and put me on pause, and when you get to the end, unpause and we will go and do row 4. Okay, so again, row 3, straightforward, single crochet, right back. Okay, so I finished doing my row of single crochets. So again, I'm going to mark on my tracker, row number 3 is done. So row number 4, because we haven't gotten to starting the letters yet, row number 4 is essentially the same as row number 2. So what we're going to end up doing, we're going to chain 1, we're going to single crochet in the next 27 stitches. So you can count them if you're still learning and you want to be sure that your counts are right, or if you're comfortable, you can obviously see where you're gonna, because in the pattern the next popcorn stitch is right above this one because you're going to be making the line of the block. So again, if you think you need to count them, go right ahead. If you want to be sure, if you feel comfortable with eyeballing it, you can do that as well. Again, the chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, so we're going to go back in and just single crochet. The first set of blocks isn't too bad because you only have the 3 letters on the bottom. So the first block and then the last block are just essentially blank places. So and you'll find too, if once you get going, if you're comfortable and you continue before the next sets of videos and that come out, and again, I'm going to try to put a video out at least once a week, because I know some people like to work along with it, so I don't want to hold people back. But again, if you're comfortable and want to move ahead, feel free, because these work up pretty quickly. All right, I'm coming to my next puff, getting there. So, and I have a couple other, there's another blanket pattern that has multiple stitches in it. It's done sideways, like you work from the side across so that there's like a panel of one stitch, a panel of another. I'm thinking about maybe doing that one. The only thing is I don't know if other people have done it. So all right, so I know I've done my 27 and I'm at my next puff stitch or popcorn stitch. So we're going to do what we did before. We're going to yarn over, put our hook in, yarn over and pull up a loop, and we're going to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 9 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through the first 8, still have the 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, the puff stitch is done, and we're going to continue on with our single crochets until we get to the next puff stitch. So you can see how once you get used to the single crochet and the puff stitch or popcorn stitch, it's pretty simple. So this is why I'm classifying this as a beginner friendly. It goes pretty quickly. Whoop. Sorry if you can hear the snowplow outside. We're in the middle of it. I'm in Eastern Canada and we're getting slammed with a storm. All the schools and everything were closed today, and the colleges and the universities. So the snow is kind of turned to some freezing rain, so they're out clearing the roads. So they're kind of noisy at times. All right, we're coming up to the next popcorn stitch. So again, we're going to yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up your loop. That's 1 time. We're going to do that 3 more times for a total of 4. So 2, 3, 4, yarn over, pull through 8, then yarn over and pull through the last 2, and keep going with your single crochets. So again, if you have any questions or need any clarification, please feel free to put them in the comment section and I will help as soon as I can. And if there's something, if there's a project that might be a bigger blanket or something like that that you might think might be good for a crochet along for everybody, let me know about those in the comments too, and maybe it's something that I can look into and we can potentially work on together. I do still want to do an evening here and there live where I work on something, and if you have questions, and it could be about any of the videos or it could be just about any, if you're working on a project yourself and you're having some issues with stitches or anything, if I can help you with that. All right, I will be glad to do that. I did our single crochet. We're up to the next, where we need to put our next popcorn stitch. So again, yarn over, hook goes in, yarn over, pull up a loop, and we're doing that 4 times total. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through the first 8. So you still have the 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2. And then single crochet in your next 27. All right. So when we get to the end of this row, which we are on row 4, like I mentioned before, all odd rows throughout the whole pattern are just straight old, do your chain 1, turn your work, and you're going to single crochet in each stitch across, which then in turn sets up the foundation for the next row, which has the puff stitches and the pattern. All right, so we're coming up to our last puff stitch or popcorn stitch for this row. So again, and I'm going to put the overlays on the video, but I'm not going to keep numbering the odd rows because I'd have to make a slide for every one of the 100 and some rows. So I'm just going to put odd row, single crochet across. And same as after so many rows involving the popcorn stitch, I'm not going to give the full description of the popcorn stitch. I'll just say popcorn. Okay, so we're going to yarn over, hook goes in, yarn over, pull up our loop. That's 1, and we're doing it 4 times total. 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through the 2, or yarn over, pull through the first 8 so that you have 2 left, and then yarn over and pull through the 2. And then we're going to single crochet to the end of the row. And you'll see what I mean too if you didn't notice. It's not as noticeable now that it was the first row, that the last single crochet can sometimes kind of hide a little bit. So that's why I said for the first, just count your 27 stitches to make sure that last one doesn't sneak past you. All right. And again, if you're more comfortable with keeping count as you're going, go right ahead until you do become comfortable with eyeballing. Even when you go to, for the first so many rows of the letters, I have to count each letter, just so that, and so then here's your last one, just so that I can make sure I got the pattern straight. So again, mark it off on your tracker so you don't, if you have to set your work down, you're not going to lose track of where you were. So for row 5, it's an odd row. So that means we're gonna chain 1, turn our work, single crochet in that first stitch because the chain doesn't count, and then we're gonna single crochet in each one across. So if you wanna pause me here and then meet me back, and then we'll do row 6, right back. Okay, so I just finished row 5. Marking that off on my tracker. My tracker, not tractor. Jeepers. All right, so row 6 is essentially the same as the first couple of rows I had the puff stitches. So you're going to chain 1, single crochet in the next 27, and then do your popcorn or puff stitch in the one right immediately above the ones you did before. And you're going to repeat that across till you get to the end. Okay, so if you want to do that, put me on pause. We're getting to the point where we're going to be starting letters here in a minute. So again, single crochet, get your popcorn puff stitch in, single crochet the next 27, popcorn puff, and get to the end of the row, and put me on pause and meet me back there when you're done. Okay. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of round, shoot, I forget what round I'm on. Round 6, row 6, which I had to think for a second, sorry. So when we finish row 6, you'll have the first so many rows of the puff stitch where you can start to see the shape of where the line's going to be to indicate the blocks. So when we finish row 6, we're going to do our chain 1. Oh, cat hair's free. We're going to do our chain 1, turn our work, and single crochet across for row 7. So we finished row 6. I'm going to mark that off. I can't stress enough, because if sometimes you get pulled away and you're like, where was I? This way you have a record of what you're doing. So for row 7, we're going to single crochet across, and then for row 8, this is where we're going to start our letter. All right, so I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and work my single crochets in each stitch across. So again, if you want to put me on pause and meet me at the end, we're going to start our first row that has the start of the letters. Okay, so I will meet you back here in a minute. Be right back. Okay, I have finished row 7. And again, I sound like a broken record, mark it off on your thing. So now we're going to start the letter. So, and again, you'll notice we're working from the bottom up. So we're going to, row 8, we're going to chain 1. The first block of the blanket in that lower corner is just blank. So we're going to single crochet across till we get to our first popcorn stitch there. Because you still, even though you're going to be starting the letters, you still have to do the popcorn stitches that are delineating or outlining the blocks. So let me get across here. And you'll find the popcorn stitches, they take a fair bit of yarn. So the more popcorn stitches in a blanket, the more yarn you need. So this takes, the popcorn stitches and the lines take a fair bit of your yarn. All right, so I'm at my first puff stitch. So again, we're going to yarn over, hook in and pull through 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pull through the first 8, then pull through 2. Now we're going to start our first letter, which is the letter Z. So this is where it came in. This is why I have here the 11th, because if you zoom into your pattern and you count, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blank spots before the first puff or popcorn stitch of the letter Z. So you need to start, this is why I zoomed in on my computer, you need to start your the first puff stitch at the 11th stitch. So I'm going to count out 10 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we start on the 11th. So we're going to put a popcorn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, pull through the first 8, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and then you'll notice there's a single crochet followed by another popcorn stitch, and then another single crochet, and then a popcorn, and then another single crochet, and then one more popcorn. And then what you're going to do is single crochet over until you get to the next popcorn stitch for the line of the block. I see it coming here. So then you're going to push. So see what I mean? Once you get foundation parts done, like now when we go to do the next part of the Z on the next, on row 10, we're going to be able to more easily see where we have to put it, and you don't necessarily have to count as much. But you can see why you have to count for the first row of a letter. I'm going to do my puff stitch again because I have a loose thread in there somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's catching on something. There we go. All right, so now for the Y, if you zoom into your chart, you have to do 12 single crochets. On the 13th one, you're going to start the first puff stitch of the letter Y. So let's do 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we're going to put our popcorn. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through 8, then yarn over, pull through the last 2. And because the Y has that stick on the bottom kind of thing, that's the only puff stitch we need to do for this part of the Y, for this row. So we're going to single crochet over to the next border puff stitch of the square. So you can see too, once you get used to this, it does work up pretty quickly and it's pretty straightforward. Very beginner friendly. I'm all tangled here. All right, so we're at the next, where our border is for our block. So popcorn stitch in there. And then for the letter X, what we have to do is do the first one on the 11th. So we're going to single crochet 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we're going to do a popcorn. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over, pull through 8. Then yarn over, pull through the 2. Then there is actually 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to do another popcorn. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through 8, and yarn over, pull through 2. Then you're going to single crochet until you get over to the block border. All right, then we're going to put our popcorn stitch in there. And then because the bottom corner of the blanket is a blank square, we're just going to single crochet across to the end, just like we did in the previous. So this is going to wrap up row 8. And then, of course, row 9 is going to be just a single crochet row, like every other odd row. All right. So don't forget, again, when you finish row 8, check that off on your tracker sheet. And then what I want you to do is do a chain 1 and single crochet across for row 9. So I've just finished row 8. I'm going to turn my work, chain 1 and single crochet across until I get to the end of the row. So again, mark it off on your tracker, single crochet for row 9, and then put me on pause, and we'll meet back here for the last round of this week's crochet along. We'll do row 10. So put me on pause and I'll meet you back here in a second. Oops. Okay, so I just finished row 9, marked it off on my tracker. So now for row 10, we're going to, again, because the bottom corner is a blank, we're going to do our single crochets across, get our popcorn stitch in here. So we're going to chain 1, work our single crochets until we get across there to the popcorn stitch we need to put in. So hopefully you're finding the crochet along tutorials are going to be helpful. And especially if you're new and this is your first time making something like this, hopefully these are beneficial and straightforward, and that the pattern is easy to follow. It is helpful if when you have the PDF, you can just go to the chart and zoom in so that you can more easily see and count where your popcorn stitches are going to be. All right, so we're going to do our popcorn. 2, 3, 4, and I'm going a little faster with the popcorns right now because after doing so many of them in the earlier rows, hopefully you understand and you got it. So I believe in you. So now on the Z block, you're going to notice that we're going to be doing, you're not going to be putting any popcorn stitches above where you were. We're going to need to do a popcorn stitch in the next one over from the last one. So you'll see here. So we're going to do our single crochets. We're going to work across here. And when you look at the chart, you can see where the popcorn stitch is marked. So I know I'm getting close to where I need to put it. So it's not above this one. It's kind of in between these last two. So I'm going to single crochet in this one, and then I'm popcorning. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to single crochet until I have to do the puff stitch or popcorn stitch, as you want to call it, for the block border, which is coming up here. So again, put our popcorn in there, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to be moving on to the next one for the Y, and that is because we're still doing the stick. It's going to be right above the one we just did. So we're going to single crochet across until we get to the previous one, and we'll do one right above it. All right, here it comes. So again, popcorn right above the previous one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to single crochet until we get to the block border. So again, you can see this, once you get the rhythm to it and you get comfortable, it can go pretty quickly. All right, so we're going to do a popcorn because we're at the border. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me. So then we're going to do our single crochets, and we're working on the letter X here. So when you look at the chart, we're going to be adding 2 more popcorn stitches, but we're going in one from where we just did. So these ones were here on the row below. We're going to go into these ones because we're going to start making that X symbol. So here we go. Okay, so this is the one above the one we did below. So now we're going to put a popcorn in the next one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 3. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to put a popcorn. 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to single crochet until we get over to the next border. Sorry, I just need to take a drink. Over till we get to the next border. All right. Here we are. So we're right above it. We're going to do our popcorn. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then again, because the corners of the first set of blocks is blank, we're just going to single crochet till we get to the end. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching and all the support that the channel has gotten lately. We're doing pretty good for my little channel, I think. I'm pretty pleased. So, and it's been nice to see some of the lovely comments people have left and just hear where people are watching from. And that they're finding the tutorials helpful. I appreciate the kind words. I enjoy sharing the patterns, and I enjoy doing up the videos and the tutorials and keeping crochet alive, because there's not as many people around nowadays, I think, that do it. Like a lot of the younger people, it's kind of made a bit of a comeback, but a lot of younger people just, they've got other things on the go. So it's nice to keep it alive and share. All right, so that is rows 1 to 10. So I know it doesn't all fit in here. So we have the start of our first corner. We have the line that's going to delineate or the border for each block. We have the start of our Z, another line, the Y, another line, X, another line, and our corner. So that is rows 1 to 10 of the alphabet blanket. So in the next one, we'll do the next section and possibly finish the first set of blocks. We'll see how that goes. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing the next video. Take care and happy crocheting.